Well, welcome to another episode of Ask the Druids. And today we have Lisa, who is back with us, who's also done one of these before on a brand new topic. So, Lisa, let you introduce the topic and why this topic called to you.
Okay. So this topic really calls to me because I have become obsessed with facilitating family constellation sessions, which is an energy modality that looks at how our generational patterns, entanglements, hidden loyalties can really impact almost every area of our life. And so I know I combine it with astrology. I know that was our last topic, but I was like, I wonder what the Druids have to say about ancestral healing. And so I have a lot of questions related to that.
Yes.
I'm excited to be back.
We always ask awesome questions that, just in our conversations too. So I think ancestral healing is a great one because there's so much that goes back into not only our physical DNA, but our energetic DNA that we really need to shift. And I know through family constellations, I've been able to shift a lot for myself and just have an understanding of why things may be there or what it is. So
Yeah. And FYI, Katie and I are starting to do some family constellation work together. So
yeah.
reach out if you have any questions about how we could help you with that.
Yes, I'm just the observer. I don't do much part of it. So just so everybody.
No, you do a lot.
I just
You need
sit there and listen. So
yes. Well,
yeah.
you help me see what's underneath, so that's awesome.
Yeah. So okay, well, I think we're ready to get started, unless if you have anything else that you want to add.
No, I'm gonna pull up. I wrote my questions on my phone, so I'm gonna.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Okay.
For as each being who is on the planet has chosen this moment in time to come in and inhabit a human form with the physical DNA, but also bringing on all of the karmic energy that they had prior, along with the energy of their soul family, that each of those things can affect how and what they are if they so wish for it to affect them during this lifetime. And so, yes, there are things that can happen from a trauma standpoint within the lifetime you are currently in, which then will allow for that to shift and need to be released or realigned or integrated back into their lifetime and within their energy. And so as all of these things are coming in and as they are becoming one with who, what, when, and where, and why they are here, is important to understand that the energetic DNA and the physical DNA of the ancestral healing is what is very different. So first we will touch on the physical DNA. So each being has inhabited a human form, and that human body has a lineage of physical DNA that will tell them about their ancestors, will tell them about where they come from and what energies they may have been associated with. So as you look back at to what your exact lineage is and how that is affected, perhaps you were farmers and you had to do a lot of hard work. Perhaps there was a poverty conscious level there because you didn't have a lot of money. Say, for instance, that you were a factory worker and had to breathe in things that were not as good for you and that caused lung damage, or so many other things that can be affected in a physical DNA. Those things that come in through that physical DNA are things that, yes, can and may need to be shifted. It is not to say that everything needs to be shifted, but it is to say that there are those things that within this lifetime, that particular soul will need to realign, let go of, or shift because they can cause triggers, which means they need to be released. They can also cause things that will not feel right, so that they will need to reshift those beliefs or those programs. And that is about healing that back from that ancestral level. So when you can go back and that ancestor can allow for that healing and can assist in that healing, that is when you are better able to understand that as these things are coming in, you are able to reconnect with who, what, when, where, and why each of you are here on this planet. And as that is coming in and as that is realigning you with who and what you are, you will also feel that that releasement of that will also free up some of the physical DNA standpoint of what is there. For as that is coming in and as that is coming true to with who and what you are, you will also have an understanding that when you can release that, the physicalness on your physical DNA will also release. And so that will allow for you to know and understand that as these things are happening, that as these things are coming in, that you will feel a shift within your physical form. Perhaps you will heal an ailment you have had or an illness. Perhaps you will change something about your physical form. Perhaps you will also find that you feel and want to eat different things or drink different things that you have not before. And so that is about that reshifting of that energy. So does that make sense from a physical standpoint before we talk on the energetic standpoint?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now when you think about it from an energetic DNA standpoint with your esoteric body, this is what your
Mhm.
soul is when it comes in and inhabits the human body and embraces and fulfills the human body. And so as your etheric body, or also known sometimes as your aura, which is similar but a little different, and other things, your esoteric body will also bring in energy from your ancestors, from your soul family, or from your soul's journey. Now, know and understand that the soul is not completely identical in every lifetime that it lives or every timeline that it lives on, but that it comes in with different parts and pieces of what it has done before. It may pick up other energies, other skills, other things it wants to bring with it. It may also take part of another soul or another being that it also wants to come in and learn perhaps a particular skill or skill set that it can utilize within this lifetime. And so, as all that is coming in, as you are coming into this understanding and this being, you also know that there are things that may not feel exactly like yours or may have a difference of yours of what has been. And so, as these things are coming in, you will come to find that as they are reconnecting with you, there will also be things that need to release. So, everyone always looks back and says, well, I don't know how this fits within my generational or my ancestral lineage. Because when people look at an ancestral lineage, they only look at it from the physical DNA standpoint. But what they need to understand is that there are so many other lifetimes, there are so many other things your soul has done, not just living lifetimes, but being a guide, assisting in others, helping out, going in and being another being totally that isn't. And there are some things that have picked up that it will need to release, or it will need to reshift or realign. And so knowing that when you can do that from an esoteric standpoint, from an energetic soul standpoint, in a way it is no different than the physical. It is just sometimes difficult for the human mind to wrap around the physical standpoint of what is going on and what is happening. Instead, it is about having an understanding of who and where you are, how you are reconnecting with what is being, and how you can truly let those things go and call into your soul family to assist with that releasement, to assist with them to pick up what no longer serves you. So, the same way you have your ancestors on a physical standpoint on the earthly plane, you also have ancestors within your soul family, and that those beings of your soul family that have lived other lifetimes with you, are a part of you, and are connected with you, can also assist with the releasement, the realignment, or the integration of this energy that you no longer need. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Can I ask a question related to that?
Of course.
Okay. So the ancestral soul family, can they be called upon to help clear up triggers or patterns within lifetimes, whether they're all occurring at once, or, can they help with kind of clearing that up to make you more in alignment on a soul level? Is that what I understand?
Yes, they can help with those things that happen at a soul level. And you could say, well, can't they also happen with those things that happen at a physical level, with the physical DNA? And the answer is yes, they can assist with that. But when you have the ancestors or the energy that comes back and is able to bring that back with them, or take that from the being who is there, that also is very healing. So when you do your work, the important thing is to allow for you to call on the soul family or the soul ancestors, to allow for them to take back what no longer serves them as well. Is that clear in our explanation?
It is. And can you also call on aspects of yourself to do that as
Yes.
well? Okay.
Yes, you can call on aspects of yourself, but they are so ingrained in the being, in the physical and in the esoteric being, that it may be difficult for them to connect with that, that it may not work as well because the human mind may get in the way. And so
Okay.
what I would do is I would have the part of the being, part of the soul self, be there to maybe be assisting in the process or to understand what is happening. So that part isn't going, what's happening and why is this changing? So it is just
Okay.
about a shifting in what is needed and what has been. Is that clear
Okay.
how we utilize
Yeah. So your ancestral soul family is going to be instrumental, and you can be there to either witness or
or
add
part?
some or partake. Okay. That's awesome. That's such a clear distinction that I've never thought about before. So thank you.
Of course, of course. What else can I answer for you today?
Okay. So to my question, sorry. Um, so I wonder if the Druids have any advice for insight on how individuals can call on ancestral support to aid in clearing generational patterns, like how we can do that in an individual way in between sessions with maybe more of a trained facilitator.
So you're asking of how they can call on others to assist in the ancestral healing and the ancestral clearing. Well, when they are on their own, anytime through meditation or through any other time where a being is by themselves, they can always call on their ancestors, whether it be esoteric or physical, to come and assist them in clearing or in working with them. So it is always possible. The problem that you come to find is that sometimes these humans don't understand what needs to let go or keep giving reasons as to why that is there. And they keep saying, well,
Mhm.
this is the reason, that is the reason, but they don't understand the reason doesn't matter. It is coming because it needs to be let go of. And then things get difficult and the energy feels uncomfortable and they just go inward instead of just allowing for it to happen. And so that is not a bad
Mhm.
thing. And it's just how humans react and it's how they experience. Because as we all know, humans don't like change. And that is not a bad thing. It is what makes them who they are and what makes them have to learn. Because if they love change and they wanted to constantly change, they would never learn anything. They would just get one thing and then just move on to the next and it wouldn't have an impact on them. So that is
Mhm.
not necessarily a problem. But what it is for you to understand is that as these things are coming in and as you are creating them, that they need to have the better understanding that as these shifts are happening, that as these things are coming in, that there are things that will happen after you are done working with them in your sessions. Because the energy that has shifted so much, they really need to reintegrate that into their life. How is that shifting happening and
Mhm.
how can they integrate this new energy, this new releasement, this new feeling back into who and what they are, rather than going and running after what they release so they can grab it and put it back in their toolbox again or in their
Mhm.
backpack or in their truck or whatever they haul around with them. And so it is about letting them know that they need to integrate this new energy and feel this each day. That will make for this to change and more to be more set with who and what they are and how they are working. For as this is coming in, when they can integrate it, when they can feel it, believe it, know it, and feel it to their core and within and out of them, each of their beings, the astroteric and the physical, that is when they will truly know what has been and what will be, and they will make the shift to move forward in life. Did that
Mhm.
answer your question?
Yeah, I have a follow-up, I think, because I have noticed in my own personal life that when I do this work and I see signs or circumstances or relationships change in the outer world, it helps me as like signposts that the shifting and integrating and assimilating is happening. Is there anything that helps to aid in that, or do people just need to sit with it and let it be? Um, and then actively try to not go back to old patterns or.
So it is about knowing and understand what's shifting. And yes, you can see it outside in the physical world, but it is also about knowing that as you are seeing these shifts and changes, that you also need to have an understanding that as these things are shifting and changing, that you also need to embrace these shifts and changes. Many people go, oh, I'm not sure about that, or why did that happen? Or, oh, is
Mhm.
that right? Does that work? Oh, I feel it and I think it's great and wonderful, but then something else happens and they go, oh, well, that maybe isn't as wonderful it needed to be. but all you did was release yourself from it. So you may not have released everyone from it. So that is why it comes back. But it is truly about understanding that this is just one part of a bigger picture. So for instance, if they need to release the concept of abandonment, when they release it from themselves, they release their abandonment and the ancestor came and grabbed it. They then integrate it to not feel that abandonment energy anytime something happens or when they look back at memories. But when that inner child comes out, who was truly abandoned as a child, that is when that will come back again and make itself known. So the being they are when they did the work of that releasement may have released it, but that inner child may have released some of it, but still may go, oh, but I was abandoned again, and that energy may come up. Now, understand it may not come up as strongly, but it is about them as the being looking at that inner child and going, okay, why is this coming up? You are feeling abandoned. So, how do we shift it for you as well? And that can be done through just the conscious knowingness and asking of that ancestor to come to that child and grab it and take it back. And also, when you do the work in the sessions, it's also about asking them, how can these sessions, how can you ask it to take it for all aspects of this being? What aspects can it not be taken for? Is it taken all completely and fully for the being in front of you? Or are there things that are not? So if they have an instance where something happens and the abandonment comes up, or if they have another instance where something comes up and they need to have that understanding of what has been, you will also know and understand that these are truly the releasing of what needs to be. Because things can happen instantaneously. There are things which you would consider miracles in the human form. And know that we would like those to happen as well, and they can. But part of the human experience and part of that 3D and 4D mind is the 4D mind can become very emotional. And so it can also dig back into what has been and what will be. So it's about truly allowing for that shift, that change, and that releasement to be what has been, and to allow for things to shift, to grow, and to truly reconnect with who and what you are. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, good.
It does. So I'm wondering if the process of ancestral healing is accelerated in a group setting, or is it better done through one-to-one facilitation with a trained professional?
So when you were looking at ancestral healing, if you are in a group and there are all very similar ancestors who are coming forward, so say you're with a physical DNA form and you bring all of those that are from the same tribe, that are from the same area of the world, that if you bring all of those forward, if you can know that they are there and they are working together, yes, it can be very helpful. It can be, you can assist in that. But know that every being on the planet is different. And so when you have people that have different things that they need to work through, or different things that need to be allowed to be released or integrated, it can become a little muddled if you're doing it at a larger group session, where how you operate an individual standpoint is good for those little nuances. But that does not mean you cannot do a larger group and then go back in and work with those individually. Or as time will come, you will also establish a way for individuals to work on their own, to be able to work through that individually with following a procedure and a process that has been laid out for it to be done. So to shorten your answer, yes, it can happen. It is not necessarily all that can happen, but it is more about allowing for the groups to come together that have like-minded concerns or things that need to be addressed. For when that happens, you will find the healing and the shifting will be even greater than what it was prior. Did that answer your question for you?
Yeah, it did. Thank you. I like the process and procedure in between. I like that a lot. So I'm wondering what awareness the Druids can provide on how the healing work that individuals do, how does it impact our ancestors and descendants going forward, and are future generations and past generations impacted by someone in an individual setting doing the work?
Yes, they definitely are. So when you look at future generations, they will not feel that energy as much if it's coming from the physicalness or from that generational movement. Now, if they're part of the soul family or that's
Mm.
something they wanted to work through in this lifetime, they may decide to bring it with them. But it is an allowing for an openness and a lightness that is coming through. This is part of why so many beings on the planet are working to shift the vibration, to raise it, to change the dimensions, and to allow for more openness in this work and understanding, because the younger beings and the new beings that are coming in are needing that for them to thrive and survive within this planet. And so as you are shifting those, yes, there are those things that they will let go of. But know and understand that any being who comes onto this planet is never coming with everything already done and just perfect. That is not the point of the human experience in being on the earth, because it is about learning and experiencing the denseness that is here. And so it is about having those learning moments. So, yes, you need to release those and it needs to shift so that you can be truly more aligned with who and what you are and your purpose and your path. But it is also important to know that nothing will ever be 100% completed, because that is not the point of being here. If you get to the point where you no longer want to do your work, or that you don't want to make shifts or changes, or you're done learning and you've done everything you wanted to do as a being, that is when you may choose to exit this plane, because you'll say, well, what is the point of still being here? It is like when you are at an arcade and you've played all the games and you go, well, why am I here? I have no desire to play the game. So you leave. So that is a similar way you can look at it. But know that for beings that decide to do that, that is okay. And that for those that are here, that there's always something more you can look at. Now, there are times where you will just enjoy, well, you will experience, but there's always something back there that you're learning or experiencing that is allowing for your soul to continue to grow and to continue to expand. Is that helpful for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. A kind of a related question is, I'm wondering if you can give some examples of how the healing may show up in our family structure or our daily interactions. Is that individual, or are there common themes?
So there can be common things and it can be individual. It really depends upon the situation that is coming forward. So for instance, something that can happen as a group or as a family group would be to have more of a better relationship among those. Maybe communication is picked up. Maybe there are people that can speak to each other who had issues communicating before. So that can be something that happens. There also may be an individual standpoint where the person used to be triggered when someone would tell them something or would communicate, and now it doesn't affect them at all. And so it depends on what you're shifting or what is happening. And it is an allowance for what has been and how these things can reconnect with what is going on and how things are coming in. But know and understand that as these are really shifting and allowing, that it will happen at an individual and at a group level, where each time a being grows or ascends, or however you want to describe it, their communication style will also change because they understand the oneness of the world. They understand their place. They understand that they cannot judge others or have opinions of others because they are not walking their journey. They have not chosen their contracts or their experiences that they wanted to learn. And so it's about
Mhm.
the overall being and how they are moving forward on this planet and how they are reconnecting with not only themselves, but their soul family and all of the beings that are around them that are assisting them on this journey of life.
Okay, I just have one. Oh, go ahead. Did you have?
You
Mm.
make it.
Okay, my final question is, and it relates to a book I just picked up by Greg Braden about wisdom codes. And I was wondering if, like, our ancestors had certain codes or prayers or words that they used that were facilitating healing, and is it helpful to adopt those into our daily life and practices?
So, yes, if you go back to all of the different eras of Earth, all of the different parts of Earth that you don't even understand, some of the beings and some of the different generations that were there, more than 2,000, 10,000, 100,000 years ago. So if you look at some of those things, such as the Romans, such as the Egyptians, if you think back to some of those well-known eras that were there, that there are those who are allowing, that had those codes, that understood energy, that understood the healing that can happen from it, that understood how to harness it. But as the earth has taken a change and has gone down to a lower dimension and is shifting and is needing to rework on things, that yes, a lot of those have been lost because there is the belief that no, there isn't, you cannot harness the energy of the planet, of the universe, and of source, of yourself, that true creational energy, that no one knows how to work with it anymore. No one believes in it anymore. That yes, if you go back many, many generations, and even beyond to millennia generations back before, you will come to find that yes, that there are those that did understand that, and they did have codes, they did have an understanding, they did have prayers, you could call them, or mantras, or however you want to describe it, that yes, called on that energy, harness that energy to come in and to assist them with healing or with shifting or with changing. And so yes, calling those back can be important if it calls to you. So there are some
Mhm.
of those codes or mantras or prayers that would call to you, but there's others they may not. But it's
Mhm.
about understanding the energy they have, speaking of them exactly as their tongues were written, so that it
Mhm.
can truly call, because it is not just about the words, but it is about the sound, it is about the vibration, and it is about speaking to those beings and energies that are part of that, that will assist with that planet. Or when you talk of these codes, or however you want to call them, but we will use codes for now as you have, that when you speak of them and they call in, that there are those energies that are specifically part of that code that will facilitate this, that will connect the energy to you. So it's about utilizing them when it's needed and for what works for you. And know that if you look at it from an ancestral standpoint, what works for you may not work for someone else, because it is
Mhm.
not within your ancestral understanding of what has been and what will be. And so that is how you can use those. But it is also about lightening yourself from all of this denser energy, raising up, understanding who you are, growing as a being of love and light, and allowing for so much more to happen than ever has before. Is that helpful for you?
Yeah, very, very. Thank you.
Anything else you
Yeah.
have for us today?
No, this has been really, really helpful. I appreciate it. I learned a lot.
Of
So
course. And with that, we wish you an wow, Lisa, there's a lot there.
there's a lot there. A lot. I learned a lot, especially about like the ancestral soul family. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
From that perspective, it adds a lot.
it does. A whole nother level of
A
what you
whole nother level.
do to constellate with
Yeah,
people.
right, right. It's yeah, it's endless what you can constellate. So
Yes.
yeah, which as we're finding out. So thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. Any questions on what they spoke of or what came through?
I not right now. I feel like I need to listen to it again and and
Yeah,
just sit with it. I might
yeah,
come back for part two. As I
absolutely. Absolutely. We always look forward to. Well, I really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on again today and being a part of
Yeah.
this. So
Thank you.
for anyone who wants to get in contact with Lisa, who is an astrologer, she does family constellation. You do a whole plethora of things. You can get in touch with her with the information below. I definitely say work with her if you've got some energy you need to shift. She's a really amazing person that works within that family constellation sector, and is really good. So
You.
yes. Well, thank you again. Any last parting words you have for everyone before we end?
Um, no, no, I'm just so grateful. I think it's just, I guess, to just really call on your ancestors and respect and honor and know that the love flows, downward from them to you, and then you give that to your descendants. So just step into that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I always appreciate having you on and love
Thank
having you
you.
in my life. And so we will hopefully talk to you again soon.
You will.
on another episode. So, all right, thank you
Yes.
guys so much. Again, if you have any suggestions on topics or people you would like me to look at bringing on, definitely shoot me a message or a comment below, and I will get back in touch with you. And with that, have a wonderful and beautiful day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.